Okay, notching. With a serger, you have to start serging at the edge of the fabric, and that's because of the blade here. The blade is way ahead of the needle, and you have to cut the fabric before you stitch it and serge it. So one way you can get around this, what you could do is start angling in. You could start with the blade here and just angle in like that. But the problem is you get raggedy threads on that edge, and then when you go back around to the beginning, it's going to be messy. So what you do instead, the solution to this problem is to pre-notch. You cut out a section of the fabric, both the cuff or the band and the garment you're attaching it to, and this you cut out about 1.5 inches in the length, and then you go in. This distance here is whatever amount you're serging off. So in other words, I want to serge this amount off all the way around. Pretend that's even. So I want that line to line up. So I notch out that much. Okay, so here I have a cuff that's already done. I just wanted to show you quick that I like to position the cuff like this with the part I'm pulling the cuff on the bottom against the feed dogs. I find it easier to pull, but you can position that either way. So here's the neckband. I've got it prepped. I've basted this on at the center back where I'm going to start. I've got some little thread basting just to hold it in place. It's well worth the time it takes. And I'm going to position this so that the blade is going to start cutting right here, right where my notching ends, and the fabric needs to be cut because I haven't pre-cut it. That's where my blade's going to go. My needle needs to go in the full 1/4 inch seam allowance that I've got going. I've marked my quarter points, and I've also pinned them. I'll just be careful. There's really a tendency to want to get that needle too far from the edge. You really want to start with that needle in your full seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm ready. I've tested my stitch, of course. I have 3 jobs as I serge around this band. One job is to keep all these edges lined up. Like I was saying before, when you've got a skinny band, if you don't keep it lined up, it'll really show. When I get to a seam, I like to lift the foot. I've got this knee lift, which is handy. And it just helps make sure that everything's laying nice and flat when you hit that seam. For heavy fabrics, you could use a hump jumper. So I'm keeping these raw edges lined up. So I'm really trying to keep them lined up, and I'm trying to serge a very consistent amount off the edge. Again, so the band doesn't look thin and then looks thick and varies. I want it to be very consistent. And then my third goal, third thing I'm having to keep track of here, is to keep distributing this band evenly. I'm stretching it from underneath. The band is underneath against the feed dogs, but again, the pins help and the marks help me keep that lined up. I mean, I'm being careful to remove those pins so my knives don't hit them. You can use a little stiletto to help you hold the fabric ends together if it's really slippery fabric. This cotton knit's not difficult to use. Oh, and really good scissors like this help with the notching. Alright, so now I'm almost back to the beginning, and I'm going to be careful over that seam again. I didn't do a great job of keeping the tension on the band even. I kind of had a little more band at the end, but it's okay. Now I get back here. I'm not gonna. I don't want the blade to get all the way back to the beginning because it might cut my stitches. So as I get back to the beginning, I'm gonna cut my tail like that with a pair of scissors. And now, now I'm back. Now I'm to the place where I started to notch. So now I'm gonna move my blade out of the way, and now I'm going to serge without a blade. for this last little part. I don't need the blade because I've pre-cut the fabric. And this just makes it turn out really clean. I'm overlapping my stitches by about 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to move the fabric, the shirt out of the way, and give myself a nice long chain that I can tuck in there. And voila, nice even neckband. Again, keeping that smooth, keeping those edges lined up and serging off a consistent amount is what gave me this nice curve here and a nice consistent band. Stretching it evenly helps prevent it from flopping out. I give it a little press, and of course I'll top stitch it. When you top stitch this seam down, it also helps pull that collar up and makes it look nice. So there you have it, neckband.